Again, this is the UC Berkeley Online Masters in Public Health program. Our information session tonight is going to focus specifically on the essays or writing component of the application for our program. My name is Elise Rudolph. I'm the Director of Online Admissions and Recruitment here with the Online MPH program, and I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Stephanie Nguyen. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm so glad that you're here. Elise and I work together to support you with the admissions process and wanting to ensure that you have a clear idea of what the program entails and really helping you put your best effort forward. So, throughout this presentation where we'll go and cover all these details, but I invite you to book in an appointment with me or email us if you have any questions after, but welcome. Thank you so much for the introduction, Elise.
Great. So we covered introductions. We'll talk a little bit about the mission and vision of the Online Masters in Public Health program. And then we're going to dive into actually talking about the two different statements. Again, UC Berkeley requires two essays as part of your graduate application. So we'll dig into those. We'll give you some actual examples from real essays that applicants used. And we'll leave you with kind of some tips and pointers to take away in your own writing process. And as I mentioned, we'll make time for Q&A at the end. Great. So our mission here at the School of Public Health and specifically with the online MPH program is healthy people locally and globally. So there's a lot of text on this screen, but usually what I like to share here is just that the online MPH program has actually been around for around 14 years now, and we were UC Berkeley's first online program. So unlike many online programs that cropped up during COVID, that is not us. We've been around a long time. And the reason that the School of Public Health decided to offer this program in an online modality was because of this mission, healthy people locally and globally. We want to ensure that folks have access to this top-notch UC Berkeley education, regardless of where you are. We don't believe that everyone should have to relocate to the Bay Area to get this education. And we want to empower folks who are, in the communities they're already in, working in the careers you're already working in, because we believe that you can make an impact in real time and contribute to this idea of healthy people in your community, regardless of whether that's in the Bay Area or not, regardless of whether that's in the US or not. We want you to be able to apply your learning in real time where you are. So that's really, it's very much a values aligned. It was very much a values aligned decision for the School of Public Health to offer this in an online modality. And our values here at the School of Public Health are service in community, showing up with authenticity, growth rooted in justice and equity, cultivating connection through learning, and centering wellness. You'll hear this come up especially if you join us for any other information sessions, but we really understand that our students are primarily most of them are working full time or have other responsibilities outside of school, like caregiving responsibilities, family obligations, things like that. And our program does, I think, an especially good job of understanding students as whole people and all the different things that you have going on in your life. So these values, they definitely show up through the flexibility we offer our students, the hands-on approach we take to advising. We really work with our students to help you make sure that the curriculum is meeting your specific career goals, that the schedule is working out with other responsibilities that you might be balancing, things like that. So we really provide that individualized attention in our program. Great. So, with that, we're going to start actually talking about your essays, which is the primary focus of this information session. So, as I mentioned, the UC Berkeley graduate application requires two different essays. They are separate and distinct, so they have different prompts and different purposes. Sometimes we get folks submitting very similar statements, and we really want to help you avoid that kind of pitfall. And so a lot of this info session will be talking about how to use each statement to bring value to your overall application. So the first of the two is your personal history statement. This allows the committee to see you not just for your academic qualities, but who you are as a whole individual. Something that's really special and unique about UC Berkeley is that we do holistic admissions review, which means that we really want to take your entire application into account. We won't just be basing your admissions decision on one test score or your GPA alone. So your personal history statement allows us to get more insight into who you are, your lived experiences, the things that contributed to your academic success, or maybe that contributed to hardship you experienced during your academic journey. Your personal history statement, again, really helps us understand who you are in this otherwise very two-dimensional application. And then your statement of purpose really helps us understand your goals, why you're applying to this program, your interest in the field of public health, how you see yourself contributing to our learning community, things like that. But most importantly, for both of these essays, a good way to think about it is, every other aspect of your application is sort of fixed already. Your GPA is what it is. Your test scores, if you took GRE, they kind of are what they are. Your professional history or resume, it is what it is at the time you apply. But your essay is really both of these essays are really your opportunity to tell us who you are in your own words. So take advantage of them, see them as an opportunity, and approach them as something that can give the admissions committee a lot of insight that every other part of your application is not able to give.
So, moving on to the personal history statement checklist, a great way to contextualize what you want to write is putting it all together in steps. So, we have a framework set for you to consider, and we have an introduction, body, and conclusion. We ask students to spend no more than 1,000 total words in your essay. You don't have to use the full 1,000 words, but do not go over them. So the introduction should be able to set the context and give you a preview of what you're going to share about your journey. The body in the personal history statement can explain the why, your lived experiences, as Elise mentioned, any barriers and challenges, growth, and essentially how has that all played a role into your motivation, right? And then in terms of conclusion, this should leave a lasting impression by tying everything together and really reaffirming your readiness and passion for public health or pursuing your readiness for graduate school. So those are key components to a strong personal history statement. And in the next couple of slides, I'll go ahead and share some examples. I wanted to share that this is coming from one of our current second year graduate ambassadors slash students who was kind enough to share her essays, and we found a lot of things that we really liked. And before I go into a deep dive of this, I want to just reiterate that this is one of many approaches that you can take and consider. So an example of a personal history statement, the introduction. I'll read this out to you, and then I will share a few things that we liked pulling from the essays. And mind you, this is not the full essays. These are just excerpts of things that we really valued in reading and helping us better understand our applicant, now student. So first, I grew up in a small agricultural town called Nagarote, located in the western region of my homeland, Nicaragua. I was raised in a traditional Latinx family, and I was the youngest of 7 children, 5 of them half siblings. My parents divorced when I was 7 years old, but I feel blessed to have been raised in a large family that takes pride in hard work and embraces social responsibility. Moreover, my parents instilled in me a strong sense of community and are the importance of contributing as a member of the society. So clearly, we see that this essay here really stems from their childhood experiences and how that's followed them throughout their journey, their academic journey, and just their motivation in life, right? There are certain values that they are connecting us right off the bat, and this gives us a sense of what we'll see for the next part. So again, this introduction is effective because it quickly establishes a vivid foundational context by mentioning the applicant's unique geographic and familial origins, thus laying the groundwork for a personal narrative focused on hard work, social responsibility, and community values. That is what's important to them, and that's something that is signified early on. Mind you, in a personal history statement, you do not have to speak from a context of childhood experiences. It can come from a professional experience. It's whatever you choose to share with us, as Elise mentioned. It's a good opportunity to reflect, and you'll see the themes of that in the essays. Moving forth, an example of a personal history statement body. So moving forward, I was expected to get married at an early age because it was the cultural norm for a young woman and have children rather than pursue a professional career. Instead, I attended dental school and specialized in orthodontics. Then I opened my practice in my hometown. While it is true that I chose a different path in my life to further my education and defy stereotypes of gender roles, I also wanted to help my community and have the opportunity to positively impact people's lives. The beginning of my career was challenging and a testament to a lived experience as a result of gender inequalities. That is to say, I was a recent graduate woman competing with mostly male and experienced colleagues who dominated the healthcare field. However, those challenges helped me fine-tune my top three signature strengths, such as determination, ethics, and a growth mindset, which became essential to the dedication I put into my job and made me stand out. By showing great care for patients and my community, my practice thrived. And what we love here is that this body truly, just throughout this statement here, draws our attention to the applicant's strengths. It centers on a powerful narrative of overcoming cultural and gender expectations, demonstrating the applicant's determination and commitment to both personal achievement and social contribution. Again, she laid the foundation in the introduction and continues on with this theme, so it's easy for the reader to follow. We can understand what they're trying to convey to us. Example of a personal history statement closing. So eventually, I got married and moved to California. While I intended to build a new family, I also wanted to continue putting into practice my skills in dental healthcare. Hence, I worked as a dental assistant for a few years. I apologize. However, deep inside me, I felt as if something that gave an additional purpose to my life was missing, and evidently, the experience of becoming an immigrant has left a profound imprint on my heart. As time passed, I decided to go back to school, and this was a turning point in my life and career. Although I started my career in dentistry and orthodontics, I have gradually fallen in love with public health. Therefore, I want to transition from individualized care and clinical dentistry to a community-based for preventative approach. To conclude, my family upbringing, outstanding skills in the work field have, and genuine care for human services are authentic expressions of my character and strong performance as a promising candidate for the MPH program. So the statement thoughtfully navigates a potential gap in the applicant's history and presenting it as a period of reflection, development, and renewed purpose. And we really love this because it tells us that the student has thoughtfully thought about their experiences, something that they're leaning towards into working towards. So it's okay to have skill gaps. I think a lot of students come back to graduate school to learn, to thrive in new ways. So really lean into that as a strength and understanding into your next purpose rather than being fearful of it. And I think this applicant did a really great job with that. And as I mentioned, they made a strong case. And one thing that we really love is the personal history statement. We'll say this a couple times, is it's an opportunity to reflect and also find renewed purpose. So really take into consideration that the personal history statement looks very different because it gives you an opportunity to think about your experiences and what you truly want us to share, and also give you the opportunity to see how far you've overcome in your experiences and what makes you feel ready for graduate school or the field of public health or wherever you're at within your journey. I'll pass this along to Elise to focus more on the statement of purpose.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. As Stephanie mentioned, your personal history statement is more your backstory. How did you end up applying to grad school? What about your lived experiences contributed to your desire to pursue this program? And your statement of purpose tends to be a little bit more forward thinking, telling us about your future goals, what skill set are you looking to gain by doing this program, things like that. And so, in order to help you brainstorm for your statement of purpose, we have put together the statement of purpose checklist, and it's a great way to just kind of jog, kind of get your thoughts organized, brainstorm ideas, things like that. But the first thing on this checklist is writing strategy. So you want to ensure that everything you're writing is contributing to the prompt. Everything should have a purpose. It should be addressing the correct audience, which is your admissions committee. And again, recheck that everything you're writing is really addressing that prompt. The statement of purpose should also address program fit. So essentially, why UC Berkeley Online Masters in Public Health program? What is it about our program that stood out to you? Is it something in the curriculum? Is it something a faculty member researches? Is it the flexibility of the program? Tell us why us. The admissions committee always want to hear that there's something that stood out to you about our program versus other MPH programs.
Hold
Um,
on, one second.
Oh, I think you might be off mute. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, thanks so much. So personal and professional foundation. This is, again, it's going to touch on your professional background, which you may also end up including in your personal history statement, but try not to repeat yourself. So if you are referencing some of your professional history in both spaces, try to highlight different aspects of your professional background. And it also is a good place to talk about your professional goals. So, are you, again, looking for like a specific skill set that you don't have? Maybe you're looking for epidemiology skills or you want more policy experience. This is a good place to talk about those things. Again, tell us about your future goals. Is there a career aspiration that you have? Is there a specific area of public health you really want to get into? Tell us about that. Program justification. So tell us, why this program now? Why is an MPH the right degree to help you achieve the goals you're looking to meet? Why is a master's the right program? Make sure that this essay addresses those things. And why now? Why is now the best time for you to get a graduate degree as opposed to in 5 years? Um, that ties to timing and impact. Again, another way to think about this is what is the impact you hope to have? What is the impact you hope this degree will have on your life? And then academic engagement. So, what classes appeal to you? What classes have you taken that have prepared you for this program? Things like that. So, use this checklist. You don't have to rigidly address each of these components in your essay, but use this as a starting place to help you think of ideas and what to talk about in your statement of purpose. A lot of times, folks get a little bit hung up on what do I talk about in my personal history statement versus the statement of purpose. So, your personal history statement, again, is really about you, your story, your journey. And the statement of purpose is a little bit more professional, academic, goal focused, things like that. So we're going to get into some actual examples from, again, one of our applicants' essays. So in their statement of purpose, introduction, they say, In essence, my experience as a healthcare provider and my involvement in community colleges, both as a student and as a tutor, motivates me to pursue a degree in public health. I want to dive deep into the dynamic of social determinants of health. For these reasons, I am interested in applying to the interdisciplinary concentration because I want to be part of an effort to advance inequalities, provoke the system to impel changes, and work on effective public health interventions to benefit vulnerable communities, including immigrants, especially women and children. So this was a great statement. I believe this was the closing sentence of their introductory statement, and it tells us really all of the, it hits on all the things we just mentioned in that brainstorming document. We understand what experiences contributed to their preparation for a public health degree. They talk about being a healthcare provider. They talk about their involvement at a community college. They talk about what academic areas they want to learn more about, social determinants of health. They talk about what concentration they want to pursue. This is a really good thing to address in your statement of purpose as well, what concentration you're applying to and why. They talk about kind of some of those goals that they have, addressing inequalities for vulnerable communities. So they're really telling us, what they want to do with this degree and how this degree is going to get them there. All right, so in the body statement, they say, I aim to learn from different concentrations of public health and develop new skills in research, health education, disease prevention, and policies to better serve our communities. For instance, I'm looking forward to taking community health science courses like PHW 205, which is program planning, and PHW 206, maternal and child health nutrition. Courses like these will help me learn basic concepts and strategies that will serve as a resource in my ongoing efforts to promote health, especially among the most vulnerable groups. So again, they're digging in deeper into their academic interests and the skills that they're hoping to gain from this program. They want research skills, disease prevention skills, policy skills. They reference specific classes they're interested in taking. These are great things because they show the admissions committee, that our program specifically is the right fit for them to meet their goals. And that's a big part of what the admissions committee is looking for. We want to ensure that this degree is the right degree for you. And so, by mentioning specific classes and specific skills they want to gain, it assures the committee that you've looked at the program, you've thought about this, and this is a good next step for your professional and personal goals. All right, so an example of a closing statement. In light of professional training, UC Berkeley is one of the top universities in the country, and the School of Public Health is widely recognized as a top-notch program with vast research opportunities and outstanding training for academia. Another consideration for choosing UC Berkeley is that the university culture aligns with my career goals and core values, and I like to be part of an institution whose environment will help me thrive. My goals are to empower people to have better health outcomes, join efforts to improve health policies to benefit vulnerable groups in our community, and create a more equal society. I want to give back to my community and continue to make a positive impact. I would also like to stay involved in education and academia, and I plan to further my education in dental public health. My long-term goal is to apply to the dental public health program at UCSF or CDC's headquarters. So a strong closing because they tell us why UC Berkeley. This is always a good thing to include. What is it about our school, whether it's the university, the School of Public Health, or our program specifically? What is it that aligns with you or resonates with you, and tell us why you're applying. Reiterate those goals that you have. Again, this applicant brings up their experiences, their long-term goals, and also I just want to highlight it's totally okay if your long-term goals are a PhD program or med school or furthering your education. We understand that an MPH degree can often be a great leaping off point to other academic programs. So, if that's your long-term goal, you can talk about that. You can talk about any long-term professional goals that you have. This is a great place to tell us that information. Yeah, so overall, a really strong statement of purpose, hitting on their motivations, their preparation, and why our school and where they want the program to take them. All right. So, kind of as we wrap up these examples, we want to leave you with a few key do's and don'ts. If you don't remember anything else from from this information session, these are your best takeaways. And I will say that these do's and don'ts apply to both essays. So in both essays, you want to avoid repeating your job history or listing out the experiences that are already on your resume. It's totally okay to talk about your professional experiences, but what we don't want is just a regurgitation of your resume. We're going to have your resume, we're going to have your CV. You don't need to like chronologically spell out every job that you've had. Your essays are a place to talk about, maybe a specific skill you gained in a role, or maybe you had a job that really spurred your interest in public health or spurred your interest in maternal health or epidemiology. That's a great place to tell us that detail. But we don't need just, a list of every job that you've had. At least not in the essay. uh, don't assume that readers will make any connections on your behalf. This is one of the biggest ones. So using things like acronyms or referencing things in your essay that aren't maybe on your resume, or referencing things that maybe you mentioned in a different portion of your application. Don't assume readers will make those connections. And I say this because sometimes the folks, the committee that review your applications, they might start reviewing part of it one night and then finish in the morning. And, they might, they might be reading your essays first and then looking at your resume second. They could be looking at portions of your application in a different order. And so you want to make sure that both of these essays can stand alone. Like if the admissions committee read your personal history statement, that we want to make sure they don't need any other context from your application to understand who you are. Make sure that it's a complete narrative that gives all the context it needs within the essay. Same with your statement of purpose. If you're using an acronym, explain what that acronym means. You don't want to reference other things in your application. Don't rush the writing process. Give yourself time. If you're planning to apply by our March deadline, you definitely still have time to work on these essays. You have several weeks, which is great. Take some time to do that brainstorm, write your first outline, write your first draft, give yourself time to have readers and folks review your essays. Allow yourself a few days for that revision process as well. So those are your don'ts. And now let's talk about positives, things that you do want to do in these essays. Remember that both essays are distinct and separate. They have different prompts. Continually reflect on those prompts. Make sure that each essay is addressing the prompts correctly, and guiding your unique responses to each essay. You want to draft out your initial brainstorming thoughts. I think this is a really great tool to help your writing process. Give yourself some brainstorming time. And then have a max of 1 to 2 readers offer their feedback. And I would actually say, you might even want to have a minimum of 1 to 2 readers review and offer feedback on your essays. It's really important that we have other outside folks review these essays because, when we write and we read and copy edit our own writing, it's really easy to hear it in our own voice, to kind of fill in the blanks if there's a missing word or a typo. Our brain will do that for us naturally. So it's so important to have someone else read your essay, give feedback, make sure it makes sense, copy edit, things like that. So definitely have a proofreader. And then keep your writing clear, concise, and coherent. These have 1,000 word caps for each essay, which really isn't that much space. And so you want to make sure that everything you're writing is really addressing that prompt and adding something of value to your application. And then just some formatting things to keep in mind. We recommend Arial or Times New Roman, font size 12. All right. So, I'll pass it back to Stephanie to close this out.
Thank you. So the important dates we want you to keep in mind are that we're accepting two applications for fall 2026. Please note that you have until March 2nd to submit your application if you're intending to start in August. And if that's a little bit too soon for you, you can still apply. We have open applications for spring 2027. There is no priority deadline, and the final deadline for that is August 3rd of 2026. And if you run into any issues beforehand, do reach out to us. But in the meantime, as I mentioned, we would love to stay connected with you. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to email us at online.mph@berkeley.edu. I invite you to schedule a one-on-one advising appointment with me if you haven't done so yet. You can do that through our scheduler. You can find us on the website, many places. And also our upcoming events. So if you're getting further into your application and would like to better understand the advanced GPA calculation and what that entails, what that looks like, we'll be hosting a overview as well for that. So it's Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. We would also love for you to follow us, stay connected to see what's happening in our environment. We have commencement coming up. We have all these fun things happening, summer visits and whatnot. So we will go ahead and conclude this.